one of the things that we get to do is take accountability for the kind of commitment that we have for ourselves, our business, and more importantly, what our dreams and our goals are. And I've learned a lot over the last 12 days of June because, some of us talked about this at the beginning of the month, which was, we really want to start performing better in our business, performing better in our lives. And for me personally, I think it's really important, and there's a lot of value to figuring out, like, who do I want to be? How do I want to show up? What is it that I want to create with my life? And having not only a clarity about that, but understanding your identity in that. And one of the best books that really breaks this down is called Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. And Psycho-Cybernetics really helps you to understand why people make decisions and then they don't follow through. Why people say they're going to do something and then they don't do it. People set New Year's Eve goals. New Year's Day, they're all fired up and excited. And by the end of January, beginning of February, they've reverted back to old habit patterns. They've lost all of their enthusiasm. They've, destroyed their momentum. And people are like, well, yeah, but you were so excited at the beginning of the year, because they were wrapped up in the immersion of the energy, because there's a collective energy at every new year where you can kind of ride that wave. And it's important. Like you should leverage it if it's there, because it only happens once a year, right? At the beginning of the year, everybody's like, hey, Happy New Year. What are your goals? What do you want to do? I want to do this. I want to do that. And after all that noise and joy has subsided, that energy is gone, you're back to dealing with the most important person in the equation, which is you. And if you don't have a clear vision, if you don't know who you want to be, then all that other stuff is going to go away. And you're just going to revert back to whatever your old habit patterns are, whatever you've been accustomed to doing. So it's really important that there is clarity. And so what I did the first 12 days of June was I literally was clearing out all of my voicemails, because I'm not happy to share this, but it's true. I'd let voicemails pile up in my voicemail box. And so there were calls that I needed to return that I just hadn't had the opportunity to get to. I literally had hundreds of text messages that I hadn't had the opportunity to get through, because you know what happens when you get a text and then another message comes in, another one, and they get pushed down. And what happens is whatever's the most important, whatever has the highest priority, well, those people keep texting you until you respond. And because of that, so many messages were getting pushed down that were just as important. And so I was doing all of this cleaning up, and it took me a lot longer than I anticipated. It's kind of like when you move. When you move from one location to another and you start packing, in your mind, you think, oh, this shouldn't take that long. It's a few rooms. Like, I don't have that much stuff. And then you start packing and you like, doggone, I got a lot of stuff. And you have a lot of stuff that you don't really need anymore. You have a lot of things that are unnecessary. And you're like, why did I keep this? And why is this here? Like, what have I been doing? This happens in your life. We take on a lot of stuff, but we take it on emotionally. We take on mental baggage. We take on personal hangups. And we have all this stuff that serves as clutter in our mind. And it doesn't serve us. It's just taking up space. And we think that when we're ready to move, because we want to move to the next level, we want to move to greater income, we want to move to a better position in life, we think that all we have to do is, oh, it shouldn't be that bad. I just want to make a move. Let's go. But when you start doing it, you begin to encounter all of this clutter of your life. Self-imposed limitations, fear, anxiety, negative self-talk, doubt, unbelief. And we keep tripping over these internal thoughts that do not serve the move of where we want to go. And until you take some time to clean up your closet, to get rid of some excess baggage, you're going to always keep stumbling over it. So this is why people set goals in the spirit of a new year, but they don't follow through. They don't stick to it because they haven't addressed the baggage. And until you remove those things and unlearn some poor habit patterns so that you can replace what you've unlearned with what you're learning now, progress is it's 3 steps forward, 8 steps back. 2 steps forward, 6 steps back. Because the habit patterns are more rooted in your identity than who you want to become. So getting back to that core question, who do you want to be? In psychocybernetics, he talks about the fact that people that would get plastic surgery, they would have a different face. And whatever the reasons were, some people had issues from an accident. And so they had to get their face fixed, and it actually improved their appearance. Others were just not satisfied with their appearance and they wanted to do something to physically alter it. And he talked about the fact that some of those people, when they got the procedure done, even though they looked different to the outside world, they hadn't addressed their identity, so they were not able to live up to this new version of themselves. It's kind of like when you drive a brand new car, but it's got an old engine underneath the hood. Even though the car looks really good from the outside in, it looks fantastic, it doesn't drive like it's supposed to because they didn't address what was underneath the hood. And so the book Psychocybernetics really breaks down the importance of getting clarity on your identity. Who do you want to be? And I have this conversation weekly with so many different people who will come and they'll say to me, well, I want to get better at this. I want to improve in that. And for example, I'm 2 of my clients, it's a husband and wife couple, and they're telling me about their aspirations and what they want to do and some of their goals. And I said, well, let me ask you a question. Give me your top 3 most important things, like in terms of order of importance and priority. And they both gave me their top 3. And we went through them. And I said, okay, well, tell me why these 3 are important to you. Tell me why these 3 are important to you. Let's talk about each one. And we go through it. And at the end of that section, I said, you know what I find interesting? I find it interesting that neither one of you said that your top priority was the relationship, was this. I said, because if there's no this, then everything else that you just listed is irrelevant. Everything else that you listed as your top 3, those top 3 don't matter if there's no this, because everything comes from this. And if you don't take care of this, I don't care what you do about these other 3, even if you do really well with these other 3, it's not sustainable. And so it gave us an opportunity to do what? To help them reframe their priority, but more importantly, who do you want to be? Do you want to be a leader of your family that understands the importance of this comes first? We honor this first. I honor my commitment to you, my relationship with you, what we do together as a unit, the decisions that we make or don't make, but it's this. Kids are a close second. They're not on par. They can't be, because if they are, then this becomes compromised. So you have to teach them by your example. So we got into this other lane that they were not expecting because you can't see the picture when you're in the frame. So when I'm talking to you about who you want to be, it's about you getting clarity on how do I want to show up as a leader? How do I want to show up as a businesswoman, a businessman? What type of impact am I seeking to create? What is my monthly cash flow that I'm committed to creating and producing? And you have to start there. It doesn't work where you're like, oh, I'm going to just work hard, and then, once I'm making $20,000 a month, then I'll get serious, or then I'll get clarity on who I am. Well, if you don't see yourself doing that before it happens, then the probability of it happening decreases significantly. What you think about, you bring about. What you're focusing on the longest is going to become the strongest. And what most people have a hard time with is they allow their current circumstances to override their vision, to override their destination, to override their picture of success. And if you do that, you're just going to continue to get more of what you don't want. It's going to just keep repeating itself because you behave according to what you believe, and your belief is based on what you see. You ever heard somebody say, "Oh, I'll believe it when I see it"? I'll believe it when I see it. What does that translate into? It means I'm not going to believe anything until you show me irrefutable proof. And until you show me irrefutable proof, I'm not going to believe it. Okay. Well, you told me that you believe in God. Yeah. Well, give me your irrefutable proof of God. What do you mean? Give me proof. Like you say you believe in God. Where is she? Where is he? Where are they? Give me some proof right now. Show me. Well, that's different. No, it's not. Because if you're only going to move according to what's in front of you, it means that you're only moving according to somebody else's vision and never your own. If you're only going to move according to what's in front of you, you're only going to move according to somebody else's vision and never your own. That's why when people work, they go into a job and they apply. They're applying for something that already exists. It's a position at a company, yes? Company's already there. We know it's there. There's an employer that's going to hire you. You're going to get interviewed. And either they're going to hire you or they're not. Once they hire you, they're going to give you a pay schedule. You're going to get paid every 2 weeks. Here's what we're going to pay you for. We're going to give you a salary. As we've talked about ad nauseum, average salary in America is $5,000 a month. It's actually a little bit higher now, but the take home is $4,400. So you're going to bring home $4,400 a month after taxes, and that's going to be your life. Well, that doesn't require vision. It doesn't require belief. Because it already exists. That's why it pays so low. That's why you get paid so little. Because you're simply buying into somebody else's vision. Somebody else had to have the vision to build that company, whatever company it is you want to go work for. Somebody else had to have the faith and the belief in themselves and the people they were building and working with. They had to have all that in order to build the structure, infrastructure for you to come in and say, I want a job, pay me. And that's why you get paid so little, because you're not really contributing that much. That's why you're so easily replaceable. And understand, it's nothing personal and it's not a right or wrong thing, but you got to understand the rules of the game that you're playing. And if that's all you aspire to, I was talking to a young lady earlier in the week. She said, I just want to, I'm just trying to get these bills paid. I said, if that is all you aspire to, then you will never reach any of your dreams and goals. Or they're just too small to begin with. If that's all you aspire to is paying your bills, you're not going to change your life that way. It doesn't work that way. Because there's so little required for you to do that. $4,400 a month take home? That doesn't require a lot of imagination. It just requires you showing up and punching a clock. Once you get clarity on it, then you get to choose, who do you want to be? How do I want to show up in my life? What do I want to create? And so now, while you're doing the bare minimum on a job, punching a clock, collecting a check, you can also begin to build your goals and your dreams. You can work toward those every single day because you got clarity on who you want to be. So if I say to Linda, who do you want to be? Do you want to be a successful leader? Do you want to be the type of person that when other people come around you, they feel better about themselves, they feel greater about their capacity? Do you want to be the type of woman that when you come into a room and then you leave that room, people are so much better as a result of you having been there for however long you were there? I cannot tell you how many times, this happens to me all the time. I swear, I'm not making it up. Number one, people will always say to me, like, it's good to see you. Why do they say that? Because I say it first. Like I always say it. When I encounter you and you encounter me, you're going to feel better as a result of my energy because I genuinely love human connection. I love people. I love bringing value to that moment, even if it's just a hello. And so that's number one. Number two, I cannot tell you how many times just in the last 3 months people have given me free meals. In the last 3 months, not that it wasn't a plan. I wasn't looking for it, but they'll say to me, no, I got it. Oh, no. What do you mean? No, man. Please, I got it. For no reason. I don't believe it's for no reason. I believe it's because I go into every situation. This is subconscious. I don't do it purposely because I did it on purpose for so long. It's second nature. Remember I said you're going to fall back to your habit patterns? One of the habit patterns I purposefully cultivated years and years ago was I just wanted to leave anybody that I encountered better than how I found them. That's it. I just want to leave you better than how I found you. Just want to make you feel good. I learned that from Mr. Les Brown. I got that from him. I got it from hanging around him. I got it from being around him. It's not what's taught, it's what's caught. I can teach you things, but more importantly, it's what you see from what I do. And I caught that from Mr. Brown. And it stayed with me forever. And it changed how much joy I could get out of every day. Even if I'm going through a hard time, I still find joy. Even if I'm dealing with difficult situations, death and loss and betrayal and stuff crashing around you, I'm still able to find joy because of what I got from him. That simple lesson. Because that man, he's a light bulb that never runs out of power. That light is always on, no matter what. And he taught me how to do that. So if you get clarity on who you want to be, if you get clarity on how you want to show up in the world, then your actions are going to be in alignment with that vision. And the vision is so important because, Linda and I were talking about this the other day. Like, you have a vision and your vision is bigger than your circumstance, which means some of the people that you encounter, they're not going to have that vision. Most people that don't have vision, by the way, they don't. Most people are following somebody else's vision. Your responsibility is to give them something to follow. That's it. Because most people they're pessimistic. They don't think much of themselves. They don't think much of their capacity. They literally allow themselves to be defined by their current circumstances. And if you live only in your current circumstance, you're just going to be stuck in the past. You're stuck in the past. How? Because if I'm only focusing on where I'm at, it means I'm not moving forward. And if I'm not moving forward, I'm only reflecting on where I haven't gone yet. And if I'm only reflecting on where I haven't gone yet, I'm just repeating the same cycle, which means I'm living in the past over and over and over again. Ed, I really want to get in shape. Did you go to the gym today? No, I'm busy. I don't have time. Like, it costs extra money to get a gym membership, but I really do want to get in shape. Well, why don't you get your behind up and go for a run? Okay, I'll do it. Next morning comes, man, I don't really feel like getting up. It's raining outside. Maybe I'll do it later. And so again, those old habit patterns, you revert back, you fall back to that. You don't get up and go run. It's too uncomfortable. It's too inconvenient. And then here we are 6 months later having the same conversation about the same 20 pounds you've been wanting to lose for the last 3 years. It's easy to talk about it. It's different to be about it. And if the vision isn't strong enough and compelling enough to get you to move to action, then you got to work more on your vision. Who do you want to be? So these first 12 days of June, as I'm clearing out voice messages and text messages, you know what I found? Unbelievable, the things that I found. It's unbelievable. I don't know if you've ever done this, but go through your phone and you might catch some exchange that you had a year ago with somebody. And you forgot that you had the conversation and you see what you wrote. You're like, what was I thinking about when I wrote that? Like, I can't believe, did I write that? Did they write that? So I found like all these gold nuggets in my phone of things that people were sharing with me. And sometimes, because it happens to all of us, happens to me, sometimes we forget the value that we bring. Sometimes we forget the things that we're capable of. And I found all these gold nugget reminders in my phone of ways that I've impacted people because they were just sharing things with me about, oh, when you said this, this is how it hit me, and here's what I've done in my life since then. Like, it was literally like a series of testimonials. Hey, Ed, when we were here, I remember a conversation we had and you said this. I remember when you were training and you did that. I remember when you were coaching me and you told me this. Here's what I've done since then. I wasn't looking for that. It's just what I found in cleaning out my phone. And I was like, holy crap. And then I get a jolt and I start looking. So I did some more digging. So then I was clearing out the library. So I took all these books, put them in boxes, put them away, because I'm literally like getting rid of stuff. I don't want to see it because I'm moving forward. I don't want like any awards, like things that I've earned in the past and all that stuff. I literally just put all this stuff in a box, put it away. I don't want to see it. I'm starting with a clean slate. I found some journals. One of them was a Warrior journal. Warrior was a training, a boot camp that I did. This was like 2010. Was it 2010? Yeah. No, 2009, 8. It was a while ago. It was like over 20 years ago. And so I'm reading this journal. Okay. Now I went to Warrior camp before I ever started building sales teams, learning about sales, leadership. So I had only been a speaker at that point. So I transitioned from acting full time. I was speaking full time, and I was having a good amount of success at the time that I went to Warrior camp. And then I looked at what I wrote in my journal, and I wrote down in my journal, I'm going to be an exceptional sales leader. I'm going to help other people earn multiple six-figure income in my sales and leadership business. I had no idea what the sales and leadership business was going to be, but I wrote it down. And I made this commitment of who I wanted to be. I wanted to be a leader that can uplift, inspire, and empower the masses. And I wrote these things down as mantras. And I said them over and over again. I didn't remember that I did this until I found this journal, because I keep all my journals. So I took all my journals off the shelf and I've got them categorized year by year. I've been doing journals now since 1993. So I have journals that date back to 1993 all the way to now. So I'm looking at these journals and I'm like, holy, I was like, wow. And when I look at what I wrote at Warrior Camp, and I look at what actually happened in my life when I built my first sales and leadership business, and the number of people that I was directly responsible for earning a six-figure or multiple six-figure or even seven-figure annual income, it blew my mind. Because I literally, like, I didn't remember that I wrote it that specifically. So I share that story with you so that you understand words create worlds. Words create worlds. So that's why you have to watch what you say. Be careful with your words. Be careful with your thoughts. Be careful with what you give credence to. Be careful with what you take in and what you give attention to. Because if most people don't have a vision, if most people are not cultivating their dreams and getting after their goals, that means that the words and the language that they live by are not going to be productive to you and where you're going, because they're operating at a different level. So you have to be mindful of that. You have to be very careful with who you're talking to and what you're taking in. I don't expect every conversation that I have for people to be talking to me about, oh man, I got this great vision. I'd love that, but that's not reality. But most people are not going to come and say, hey man, I got this big vision. I got this big dream. I'm working on it, Ed. I did my reading. I read my 10 pages this morning. I was planking with you this morning. I worked out already. Ed, I'm fired up for my goals and my dreams. I got to go to my job. I got to punch in at 11. I'm off at 7. But brother, on my lunch break, I'm gonna be working on my goals, making phone calls in my business. As soon as I get off work, on my way home, I'm gonna make some phone calls for my business because I know who I want to be, Ed. I know where I'm going. I don't have those conversations very often because most people are so inundated by life that they don't give themselves the space or the bandwidth to give their dreams and their goals the time and attention that they warrant. They're too busy surviving. They're in survival mode. But this is how life works. So Linda and I are having this like in-depth conversation. This was in the morning. Later that evening, unbeknownst to Linda or myself, another young lady reaches out to me. And she says, hey, can you talk? I said, sure, get on the phone, we're talking. She's like, I really want my business to be successful. I said, okay. I said, tell me about your business. She does. I said, okay, great. And what are you doing right now to build a successful business? She says, well, I'm doing this, this, and this. I said, okay. So right now, I said, based on how you're telling me how you're spending your time, you're not giving the business what it warrants because you don't have clarity on who you want to be in your business. Next question I asked her was, do you have a mentor? No. Okay. Well, when you find someone in this business who's doing $10 or $20 million a year, because that's somebody that's on the come up in that business, I would get underneath their wing and just listen to what they have to share. So she says to me, well, I did meet somebody and they wanted me to come in underneath them in their firm, and it was going to cost me $400 a month. And I was like, she said this, I don't have $400 a month. I said, what do you mean? She said, I don't have $400 a month for my business to do that. I said, well, let's reframe that. Because if Bachi, she said, because if you don't reframe it, the way that you sound right now, you sound like an employee. She's a flight attendant, works for Delta. So she's probably, and she told me, she's like, we don't make a lot of money, Ed. She's probably bringing home, 38,000 a year. I said, well, you live alone. Your kids are grown. So I can help you figure out $400 a month. Like, that's not a problem. I said, but the bigger problem is how you're thinking, because you're thinking like an employee. The reason you're thinking like an employee is because that's your identity. That's how you see yourself. So even though you're telling me you want to build a successful business, you see yourself as an employee. You cannot build a business if you see yourself as an employee. It doesn't work that way. And she was like, oh man, I see what you're saying. She's like, I can't believe those words came out of my mouth. I said, I can't believe it either. I said, now, if somebody invites you to come work in their firm and they're asking you to pay $400 a month for, fees or whatever, but they can show you how to make $10,000 a month. Like, what are we talking about? A business owner says, if I put this much money into this, how do I get a return? One of the questions that Linda asked me yesterday was, okay, what's the timeline in order to make this pay? I said, well, the timeline is not really the question. It's more about your outcome. What is the outcome that you're committed to? That will determine the timeline, because if I come into something and let's say I spend $500. Well, my first thing is I'm going to make more than that in my first 30 days. That's my outcome, because that's how my mind works. If I put $500 into this and then I have the ability to double, triple, quadruple, or more, I'm going to do that in my first 30 days, period. That's it. There's no question about it. So even though I spent, it was less than $500, what I did in the first, 30 days was triple it, okay? Because of how I think. It's not because I have any magical abilities. It's not, well, Ed, you're a people person. It's probably easier for you. It's not. That has nothing to do with it. Let me explain something to you. The people that are going to say yes to you and your business are going to say yes. The people who are going to say no to you and your business are going to say no, no matter what you do. There's no magical power that anybody has. People just say stuff like that in order to justify not getting started. They tell those stories to themselves to justify why they're not having success. They make excuses. They're looking for any way out to not have success and to do what's required. Now, do you have to learn some very elementary skills? Yes, that any sixth grader can learn. Any kid can learn the skills that's required to build successful business in what we do. Any kid. So if you're 18 or over, there's no question that you can be successful. The question is, will you be successful? And the will is much greater than the skill, because the will is based on who you want to be. Who do you want to be? Across the street, literally, it's a catty corner. Kevin and Angie live in that house. Kevin and Angie, I remember them from high school. They started going out in high school. They've been together for decades, since high school. They didn't know how they were going to create a successful relationship and then marriage over time. They didn't know how. They just decided that this is who I want to be. I want to be the best mate to my mate. They both made the same decision. I know it takes two to tango, but I'm just telling you that they both made the same decision. And I see them almost every morning. They walk the dog one side and then walk the dog down the other side. Sometimes I see them, we say hello. But that's an example of a person who made a decision, another person made a decision, this is who I want to be. Now, how they got there, they could tell us a whole story about it, right? With all kinds of plot twists and turns that we know nothing about. We don't know anything about it. That's just how life is, right? It always looks better on the outside than until you get on the inside. Always. I can remember kids coming to my trailer. If I was shooting a television show in New York, so we have trailers, but the trailers are on the sidewalks. So anybody that's walking, by, you know how New York City is, it's always crowded. So we'd be shooting, and then most of the time you're sitting in your trailer waiting for them to get the right lighting and to get the right shot and all this stuff. So I'm in my trailer, and there's always invariably a couple of kids hanging outside waiting for one of us to come out. They don't know who I am. They just know I'm an actor. It's not like but they see the trailer. They see all the decorations, so we look like big time. We look big time. So I come out, and they're like asking, well, how do you do this, and how'd you become an actor, and what do you think? And I would always say to them, listen, if you want to do this, it has to be something that you have to do. That's the starting point. Like, you have to do it. You can't want to do it because you want people to see you, or you want to be famous, or you want that doesn't really work. It's such a rarity for anybody to make a full-time living as it is. But if you're getting into this because you want to be famous, I would recommend you go do something else with your life. But if you really have to do it, then I would give them, steps 1, 2, 3. I say, hey, go get a play. Go get a play and get your friends together and read the play. That's where you start. Go get a scene and go learn the scene with a scene partner and work the scene. Go get a monologue and learn the monologue and rehearse. So I would give them steps. Because if you really have to do it, then you're going to do exactly what I'm telling you to do. Everybody else, they're going to listen to me. It's going to go in one ear and out the other, and they're going to keep waiting to be discovered. And by the time I see them 10 years later, they're working at, wherever, right? They're totally out. They've put their dreams on the shelf because they weren't serious about it in the first place. So I say this to you to say, we live in a part of the world where we do get to create who we want to be. We're very fortunate. I'm not saying that we don't have a lot of issues. We do. But I am saying that we can be a part of the solution instead of part of the problem. And when you decide with clarity who you want to be, as a businesswoman, a businessman, as a leader, as a person of influence, as someone that others look up to, understand that leadership is about seeing further faster. Why would Linda want to partner with me if I can't take her to a place that she's never gone? Why would Lamar want to listen to me if I can't take him to a place he's never been? That's leadership. I take it upon myself because I decided when I did Warrior Camp many years ago, this is who I want to be. It was a decision. Now, you may have a belief, right? I believe in God. I don't know what you believe in. I believe in God. I believe that my power, my strength, my source is God. So my job is to be a conduit. It's to be a source. I'm really good at getting out of the way. I'm really good at getting out of the way because I know it's not about me. So I've had people tell me this, for a very long time. Ed, you always know what to say. Like you always have the right words for the right situation. I said, well, that's not me. I've learned how to get out of the way because I know where it comes from. I'm very clear about that. My responsibility is to make sure that I'm delivering the message. It's your responsibility to receive it and do something about it. But I also understand I got to lead by example. I got to set the tone. Like if I can't look you in your eye and say, well, here's what I did, here's what I produced, I can show you how to do the exact same thing. You want to make $5,000 quickly? I will show you how to make $5,000 quickly because that's what I did. It's credibility. It's very simple. If you rinse and repeat what I did, you're going to get the same results. And then guess what? You're going to pass that on to somebody else. So it's each one, teach one, lift each other up as we go on. But it all starts with who do you want to be? Who do you want to be? Do you want to be the person that walks in the room and they look and say, hey, it's Beverly. Do you know her story? It's crazy, man. I can't believe she's here. Go say hello. I don't want to say hello. I don't want to bother her. Man, go say hello. She'll take a picture with you. She's not stuck up. She doesn't have a big head. No. All right, I'm gonna go say hello to her. Man, that's that dude JJ. Man, you hear her story? No, man, this story's crazy. Like that dude, like he went through the fire. I was so inspired when he told the story. Let me go talk to her. Like that's how, because who do we look up to? Who do we remember? The people whose lives and stories are worth remembering and worth retelling. The tests that we all endure are what? The testimony, right? So if you're not overcoming these things, if you're not willing to get in the trenches of that accountability mirror and ask yourself those difficult questions and then execute, then no one's going to want to tell your story and you're just taking up space. My mother always would say to me, if all you're doing is sucking up oxygen, you're just taking up space. It's disrespectful to your creator. What are you contributing? How are you giving back? Some of you will say, well, Ed, I really haven't given this business my undivided attention yet. I don't know what it's like to sit down for an hour a day, every day, and just make phone calls. I've never done that. Okay, if you've never taken 1 hour a day, every day for 30 days and just made phone calls, that's all you did was make phone calls to start conversations, to invite people to see the information, to set up an overview, to do a tour of the store. If you've never done that for 1 hour a day for 30 days, it's only 30 hours, by the way. 30 hours. Think about that. There's 168 hours in a week. Multiply that times 4. That's almost 700 hours. Are you all getting this? That's almost 700 hours. And you haven't even taken 30 of those hours in a given month to sit down and make phone calls for 1 hour a day, 24 hours in a day. I don't care what you do, what your life situation is, you can find an hour a day. If you know who you want to be, if you're clear on who you want to be, if you're clear on the picture of your future, and you're living in that future by what you do today, you can do an hour a day. You can do it with your eyes closed. We're just having conversation. What we do is not rocket science. It's how do we make the world better? How do I embody the example? If everyone that I end up bringing into my team does exactly what I'm doing, what does it look like for the entire business? So you want to do what's good for everybody. So if I do an hour a day and everybody else does an hour a day, what would that mean for your business? It would be life changing, would it not? It's impossible to make calls every hour, 1 hour a day, every day for 30. It's impossible to do that and not get results. It's impossible. Who do you want to be? That's what we have. We have this opportunity. There's no limitations. People are looking. People are looking for leadership right now. They're looking to become a part of a tribe. They're wanting something that's affirming. They want opportunity. It's just up to you and I to bring it to them. So that's the first question. Who do I want to be? And I live up to that based on what my dreams and my goals are. What's driving you? What is it that you really want? So what I'd like for you to do, you can unmute yourself or you can type it in the chat. Write down for me, what's a dream scenario? A dream scenario that you would like to have. It might be, so for example, Blake's grandmother, she told me about this dream of having this house. We have a big enough house where there are sections. So everybody can live in their section of the home. So they have their space, but we're all under one roof. And I was like, like I totally resonate with that. I love that. Like I've always had that in my mind. And so that's a dream scenario. That's a driver. So when I'm out and I'm talking to prospective clients, when I'm making calls, that's running as a background in my head. When I'm driving through really nice neighborhoods with like $4 or $5 million homes, I'm looking at those homes and I'm thinking about that as the soundtrack in my head. What is yours? Like, give me, a dream outcome. Again, you can unmute yourself and say it, or you can type it in the chat. Let me see here. Somebody type something. What we got? Oh, that's not it. Yeah, type it in the chat. That was something that was somebody saying good morning. Give me something though, because I need to hear from you all. Maybe you haven't thought about it. It's okay. You can think about it now. And I want you to be aware, I'm filling up this pause because no one has jumped in with their dream. Why has no one jumped in with their dream? Why? Because they haven't been thinking about it. They haven't spent any time cultivating it. Why? Because we're too inundated with our current circumstance. How can you expect to get to where you want to go if you don't know where you're going? I want to be able to have the time to go on vacation and create experiences with my family, immediate and extended. So time. So I want to be able to have the time. How do we get more time? We get more time. We have to purchase it. Costs money. Costs money. Like you can't have more time without paying for it. And you're going to pay for it in one of two ways. Like if you meet somebody that has a lot of time, they usually don't have a lot of money. If you meet somebody that has a lot of money, they usually don't have a lot of time. That's the exchange, right? The idea is to create enough revenue, enough cash flow so that you have the ability to pick your spots. So if you want to take a family vacation, you can, and you don't have to think a lot about it. It's just, organizing the schedule. Well, how do you get more cash flow? How hard are you working on your business? How many calls are you making every day? How many people are you getting in front of the overview? Numbers don't lie. Is to be able to support my wife's business and have more time to spend with my wife and child, have the money to pay for all of the bills and then some. So I want to be the sole provider. I want to be the one that takes care of everything so that if my wife wants to do something else or if she wants to, build her business, I can support all of that. And, so be it. Like I've positioned ourselves to do it because I have more than enough cash flow to sustain everybody, make everybody feel good. Excuse me. I heard David Goggins talk about this, and I thought he did a really good job of articulating it, which was he said, I take, and I really like resonate with this. He's like, I take great pride in not owning a car. He's like, I'm a multimillionaire, but I don't even own a car because my fiance is taken care of. My mom is taken care of. He's estranged from his daughter because unfortunately his ex has poisoned his daughter against him. And he's very open. He tells a really compelling story about what actually happened. And they have all of these text messages, horrible text messages that his daughter sent to him. So anyway, she's, over 18 now. And he literally, listen to this. He paid child support throughout her entire life. And then he gave her another additional sum. And when they went through the court records, it was documented that he's paid more child support than anybody in the history of that state. Than anybody in the history of the state. He actually broke off his daughter $1 million cash. This was after all the child support. The daughter that refuses to call him daddy or dad, refuses to have any relationship with him whatsoever, refuses to spend time, even though he's invited her year after year to spend time. Let's have holiday, let's do nothing. Because the mother did such a great job in poisoning the child against him. Not only did he break his daughter off, he broke off the mom. He gave the mother who poisoned his own child against him, he gave her a lump sum that he didn't have to give at all. And his point was, he embraces and loves the feeling of being that provider. That's his driver. It's pride. That resonated with me because I want my kids to have that life and that flexibility and that experience. So we built up this environment so that our kids can thrive, they can learn, they can grow, they can become their best selves. That to me is more important than anything else. And I remember someone was like, they said it was something like, there was something that I was wearing, and I've had the same like shirt for years. And I'm like, yeah, I don't really buy clothes. It's just not a priority. I'll wear shoes for like 6-7 years until the treads are like, because I don't think about those kinds of things. That's not where I put my money. It's not a priority. we want to see, like our entire family feels the same way. We want to see our kids thrive. That's like, and that's a driver. What is your driver? I want to see others thrive and see people see life as something worth living. Not live life for others, but for themselves. It's a profound statement. I want to see others thrive and see people see life as something worth living. You ask people how you're doing. Oh, same-ish, different day. I'm just trying to get through the day. Not live life for others, but for themselves. Well, see, when you live life for yourself, you're actually impacting others. Because if you give yourself the opportunity to figure out who you want to be, the more success that you create, the more everybody else benefits. That's why it's so important to be protective of your dream, but you also have to hold yourself accountable to the results. You got to produce. Like, you can't say, I'm going to do this or do that and then not get anything back from it. Because people are, first of all, you got You got to do it for yourself. You have to be able to prove to yourself that you can produce results. And then you're able to give to those that you love and you care about. Okay? Like it's a situation, and this is why you have to be very protective of it. It's a situation where everybody wins when you win. The whole reason for you having massive success and having big goals and dreams and fulfilling those big dreams and goals is you're going to be able to give and impact people better, more. I want you to be able to take your family on a vacation and you pick up the tab and have quality time and not stress. I want you to be able to make sure that all familial debt is eradicated forever and you can focus on legacy now. I want you to have that experience. It's not easy. You got to put in the work though, day in and day out. It takes time, but the time is worth it if you're willing to invest it. I'd love to start a scholarship fund to help kids go to college. Beautiful. Like imagine being able to handpick. So at our alma mater, Morehouse, a gentleman by the name of Robert Smith, hedge fund guy, brilliant brother, brilliant. He ended up 1 year paying the tuition for every single person in the audience. He was able to write that check. Why? Because he knew who he wanted to be. He made that commitment. He went out and produced results. He did the work. He did the freaking work. And that's the whole ball game. That's the magic of being where we are. I've traveled to a lot of different countries. I remember being in South Africa, and they have these places called shantytowns. They don't have them as much now as they did then. So shantytown means that people live in a metal structure. Basically, it's like I take two big pieces of metal, 1, 2, 3, 3, 4, no, 3 pieces of metal. So I got a metal roof, kind of like flapping, and then 2 pieces here, and I make a makeshift shelter. And I sleep on a dirt floor. And there's a bunch of them, just like trailer parks, but these are shanty towns, and that's where they live. So I remember going to South Africa 1 year, and I was going there to do some training, to work with some other entrepreneurs who were building a business because they wanted opportunity more than any American I'd ever encountered. And in South Africa, they have this thing, it's called, it's a rolling, they call it, I can't remember the exact name, but basically there are periods throughout the day where all the power goes out and the internet goes out. Happens every day. So there's periods throughout the day where you have no power, no internet. So you have to kind of strategically set up your business, your meetings, when you know there's going to be power. Well, at this particular juncture, there was a period where they didn't have any power for days. And they were doing presentations for our business by candlelight. By candlelight. Because they were that driven for who they wanted to be. I watched a young man go from barely graduating high school to becoming his family's first self-made multimillionaire because he was so driven by who he wanted to be. He didn't have anything special. He just outworked everybody. Like I literally saw it unfold in real time. I would get phone calls from him at 3 o'clock in the morning, my time, because in South Africa, it was like 9 o'clock at night. And he was asking questions. We were talking about strategy, business, leadership, principles. How do you do this? How do you do that? He was so starved to be great. So I've been in places outside of America where I see people win because they just decide who they want to be. I've been in places inside of America where I see people win because they decided who they want to be. People say, well, man, if you're in sales and leadership, you must be an extrovert. No. Contrary to popular belief, the majority of people who are very successful in sales and leadership are introverts. They're introverts. They're really good at bringing on people that have outgoing personalities. Let somebody else do that. That's not my strength, but I'm really good at caring for people. I'm really good at identifying good people and helping them get started. That's the magic of our business. That's the ability that we have. So I appreciate you all sharing some of these drivers for you. But the question is, does your week reflect what you want? If I were to go back with Lamar and say, okay, well, let's look at how many calls you made this week for your business. And he puts that number. Does that number go in alignment with wanting to start a scholarship fund to help kids go to college? Because that number is going to tell us the truth about, is that something that he's really serious about, or is he just talking? If I go to Shauna and I say, okay, well, let's look at the numbers that you did this week, number of calls you made this week, so that you can make sure that you can take a vacation and create experiences with your family when you guys would like to do that. You can choose. Do the number of calls you made this week for your business reflect that? If I talk to JJ and I say, well, if you want to be the sole provider for your household, let's look at the number of calls you made this week for your business. Do the numbers reflect that? What's a reasonable number, Ed? Like, like, give me an idea. What's the number? Like, people are always like, what's the magic number? How many calls should I make a day? Well, let me put it to you like this. When you dial a number, what are the chances of somebody picking up the phone? Like, what do you think? Small? Everybody would agree it's a small chance they're going to pick up the phone? You'd agree? Okay. That's true. Because people like to text and very few people like to pick up the phone. So that means if I make 25 calls, I'm probably going to get 2 to 4 that actually pick up the phone. 2 to 4. I might get a little bit more, but that's the average. Between 2 and 4 people are going to pick up the phone. If I make 25 calls, 25 dials, and let's say 4 people pick up, I end up having a 5-minute conversation with 4 people, 5 to 7 minutes. Because all I'm doing is I'm just having an initial conversation. Hey, JJ, tell me about your day. How you doing? Haven't talked to you in a while. What are you up to? How's your family? What do you do for work? Cool. Or do you find yourself like being open-minded? Are you open to some things? Because there's some stuff I want to share with you. You good with that? Yep. Okay, let's set an appointment. All I need is your undivided attention for 30 minutes. When can you give it to me? Let me check my calendar, Ed. Oh, I can do it Tuesday at 3 o'clock. No problem. We got you in the calendar. JJ, is there any reason right now that you foresee that being a problem? Might there be a hurricane in your town? Could there be an unmitigated disaster that hits your home and you can't get on the phone at 3 o'clock on Tuesday? If not, I just want to know for sure that you could do Tuesday at 3 because you're the one that's giving me the time. I didn't give you the time. You're giving me the time. I don't want to book you for 3 o'clock Tuesday and then you call me on Monday and say you can't do it. Or you come through Tuesday at 2:55 and it's like, I can't make it. I really want to avoid that because I'm giving you a slot that I can give to somebody else. So are you sure Tuesday at 3 o'clock works? He says, yes. I say, great. We'll see you Tuesday at 3 o'clock. Boom. I lock him in. That takes what, 5 to 7 minutes? So if I have 4 conversations and let's say it's 5 to 7 minutes, it's a total of 28 minutes. The other 32 minutes is making the phone calls. I can make 25 calls in an hour. 25 calls in an hour times 4 times 25 is 100 plus 3 is 175 calls a week times 4 is almost 800 calls in a month. Ladies and gentlemen, you cannot make 800 calls in a month and not get results. It's impossible. It's impossible. You can't do it. It's impossible. 25 calls in an hour, 1 hour a day, 7 days a week. It's not that much. 168 hours in a week. You still have 161 hours to do with whatever you want. That's lazy. 1 hour a day is lazy. But remember, ladies and gentlemen, Americans are lazy. They're entitled. They're spoiled. They believe in something for nothing. They want AI to come in and do everything. They want everything to be easy. They want instant gratification. They don't believe in delayed gratification. Here's another tip that I got from Blake's grandmother. She said, set up your account so that the account automatically takes out money every 2 weeks or whatever you want to do so that you never see it, and then have them divert that money to a different account. That's called the no see, no touchy, account plan. I was like, that's genius. It's a very simple thing, but I was like, that's a really good idea, right? so that anytime money comes in, a portion of it automatically goes out to a different account. This is the power of compound. It's the same thing with phone calls you make every day. You cannot do an hour a day and not get results. But what do we do? What do human beings do? We complicate it. We make it difficult. We get discouraged. Oh, I made 5 phone calls and nobody picked up. This is never going to work. I quit. I made 20 phone calls there, but I talked to 2 people and they told me don't ever call them again. I must quit. This is probably never going to work. So people allow other people who are going nowhere, who have no dreams and goals, to rob them of their own because you're following somebody else. There's no such thing as an individual who is lighting the world on fire with their goals and dreams that would ever try to rob you of yours. There's no such thing as a person who's lighting up the world on fire with their goals and dreams. They're out here getting after it. They would never try to rob you of yours. They would never do that. They would be like, hey, Beverly, hang tough. Listen, I know it's hard. It was hard for me too, but you got to hang tough. Just keep getting after it. You're going to have a breakthrough. JJ, listen, all you got to do is show up every day. Stay out of your feelings. Ain't no money in your feelings, bro. Stay out your feelings. Show up every day consistently. Do the work. 1 hour a day, every day. Eventually, you're going to do more than 1 hour a day because you're going to start to realize, man, if I just do more of this, I'll get more results. Eventually, you start to understand the power of compound. Eventually, you're going to watch your check grow exponentially. But JJ, you got to do the work every day. It's only an hour a day, bro. If you can't do an hour a day, you're not serious. Remember, almost 700 hours, right? 168 hours in a week times 4 is almost 700 hours in a month. And out of 700 hours in a month, I'm only asking you to allocate 7 hours a week, which is not even 30. It's almost 30 hours out of 700. You can do 30 hours out of 700, and then you have the rest of the time to do whatever you want. And what you'll find, ladies and gentlemen, is that you're wasting a lot of time. You're giving a lot of time to platforms and algorithms and stories and entertainment videos and sports and all these other things that have absolutely nothing to do with your goals and your dreams because you're sucked into somebody else's. You haven't made yourself a priority. If you ever do time mapping, which we'll talk about on another call, but time mapping means that you literally chart what you do every hour on the hour. How did I spend this last 3 hours doing what? And if you add it up over time, you're going to find a lot of gaps in your schedule where you're doing stuff that's like useless. You're just wasting time. That's how I know that you can do an hour a day, 25 calls in an hour. I know it. Not just because I've done it, but because I've done it with so many people over the years. It's not that hard. And once you do that, you start to make a shift because you're focusing on who you want to be. And now your actions are in alignment with who you say you want to be and the goals that you want to create, your outcomes. It all starts to align. And then what happens? Your belief starts to increase because you're getting feedback, you're getting results. You're getting mentally tough because you're working on yourself. You have to be forged. If you want to be a better version of yourself, it has to be forged. It doesn't happen because you want it to. It doesn't happen because you say it. It only happens because you're doing the activity to forge yourself into that version. You got to go through the fiery furnace. There's no other way. The only way through is through. You can't fake this stuff. But because you can't fake it, people will know when they encounter you that you're going someplace they've never been and they're going to want to follow you. That is the magic of the journey of life. That's what I want for all of you. So here's what I'd like for you guys to do if you would. Please write down the first names of everybody you see that are in the chat. Write down the first name of everybody you see in the chat. Just write them down on a piece of paper. So I got JJ, I have Linda, I have Beverly, I have Lamar, I have Nadia, I have, let me see what else, Shauna. Okay, that Y stands for Yasmin. Yasmine. I have Jennifer. Okay. So keep writing those names down, right? Write them all down. By the way, I'm signing off of YouTube. If you got some value to this, please like and subscribe. If you know you can bless somebody else with this video, just pass it on. It's a blessing to be a blessing. Thank you so much.